We are the Ninja Legion. I'm Spider.
And I'm Blue Bomber.
And we're here today to talk about Baltimore Comic-Con 2014.
Yay.
Yeah. So Blue Bomber and I went to Comic-Con together. Check out all kinds of things. They had a really good list of guests this year. Their primary guest of honor being Peter Mayhew. For those of you who don't know, he played Chewbacca in Star Wars, which is pretty important, pop culture character, nerd culture character. Yeah, do a little Wookiee impersonation there. It only seemed appropriate. But there were also lots of comic creators, artists, writers, things like that there. Some of the bigger names, Greg Capullo, who's known for doing the Batman series for DC's New 52. Also did work on Spawn. He had his own series called The Creech. Worked on the original X-Force series with Rob Liefeld. David Finch was there, and he does the Batman Dark Knight series for DC's New 52. He's also did a cover for the upcoming Wonder Woman, for an upcoming Wonder Woman series. A few other DC artists there. Ivan Reis, I'm saying it right. He's a Brazilian artist. He worked on Aquaman, worked on a couple other DC titles as well. Joe Chen, who did cover art for Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Runaways, and has done a lot of Street Fighter art. Also did the covers for the Fable games. Adam Hughes, who's known for mostly for his work that he's done with DC, particularly Zatanna. He did Gen 13 back in the day. He's known mostly for drawing women. The Super Art Fight people were there, which was awesome. Yeah. Michael Bracco was there. Jamie Noguchi, Charm City Shinobi, everyone's favorite referee Brandon Chalmers was there also. I guess the bigger things to note for Comic-Con beyond just the guests that they had is they changed their location a little bit. It's still in the Baltimore Convention Center, but it's moved to a different one of the rooms. Yep. So you went in the first lobby instead of the second lobby for the convention center. And I really like the change. When I went 2 years ago, there was a lot of waiting in line just to purchase your pass or your badge, whatever you did. We got wristbands this year, to get in. So you waited in line. A lot of it was outside. But they used kind of the same area that like Otakon does for when they get their badge pickup. Mm-hmm. And everything went much smoother this time. There was very little waiting in line to get your badge or to get your pass, which was awesome. You just got to kind of walk right up and pick it up.
Not even 5 minutes.
Yeah, not even 5, she said. So that sped that process up along nicely. It was nice to not have to stand out in the heat. It's September, but it was like a 90-degree day in Baltimore. So it was nice to get to be inside for that. There was a little bit of a line to wait to get actually down into where the convention was, but not too bad. It moved along pretty slowly. The only thing that I was kind of wary about with that was that from the time you're in the line up top to the time you get down, you have to walk with your hand up in the air to show them your wristband. So it was one of those, we wanted to keep alternating between doing things like doing like the Hunger Games, the 3-finger thing, or do, the fist up in the air like that, or like, power fists like that. Debated also doing a less polite gesture, but we didn't do that one because we might offend people. But once you got down to the convention hall, it was really nice. The setup this year, I think, was better than previous. There was a much more open area. There was a lot more room between the vendors, so you can move through without as much clutter. It still had problems here and there because you have cosplayers posing for pictures, people just standing around chit-chatting. Mm-hmm. But you're going to get that with any convention in a dealer's room or an artist alley. And Baltimore Convention Center is both of those things in one big room.
Yep.
So that's coming from somebody who's been to the convention in the past. Blue Bomber, this was your first time going. So what were your first impressions?
I thought it was pretty darn awesome. Way smaller than Otakon, which I had been there previous, but it was a nice smaller. I heard it was pretty light on the Friday as well. I don't know what it was like on Sunday, but Saturday I really liked it. There were a lot of people just doing their thing.
So I guess we should point out your shirt is the Baltimore Comic-Con shirt for this year. It has the Grendel character on it, and that was one of their big focuses this year was Grendel, celebrating that character. They had an art book that had sketches submitted by various artists. They also had a charity auction where different artists got to submit pieces that they did, which would be auctioned off, and all the money was going to charity. One of the cool things with that, though, the tying into the charity aspect of it, is many of the artists and writers that were there, usually they do signatures. Sometimes artists charge. From what I noticed, none of the artists charged for signatures. They all just had a donation bucket out asking that you donated, an amount of your choosing to that charity, which is really cool. So it's something they're offering, they'll sign something for you free of charge. Some of them had limitations because, like Greg Capullo, he had people wanting stacks of things signed. So he's like, only 3 per person. If you want to get back in line, you can. But just asking for a donation to go to a good cause, which is awesome for them to do that, because I've been to ones in the past where they're like, you got to give us $20 for a signature, which is a little deterring, but I understand why. There's people who come in and go, I want you to sign all this stuff, and then go sell it on eBay or take it back to their store and try to do it that way. But so we did actually stand in line to meet a couple people, Greg Capullo being the first line that we had to wait in. So it was about an hour wait in line before he got there to do it. But once he showed up, things moved really quickly. He was super friendly. He was really nice. Shook my hand. Nice to meet you. Asked if it was okay to take a picture, which, Blue Bomber snapped the picture for us, which we will get the pictures up. We just have a couple from when we were there. Not a whole lot.
2 or 3. Yeah,
2 or 3. But yeah, he was super friendly. He was, really receptive. He's like, thanks for supporting him, stuff like that. So we got that. The first place we stopped, there wasn't a line. It was for Mike McCone, and he did the covers for the Spider-Man Fear Itself books. He also did Uncanny X-Force number 25, which were the 2 big things that I was excited about. I picked up a print for one of the covers from Spider-Man, and I got him to sign my Uncanny X-Force 25, which he was doing free of charge again, just donate to his charity, which is awesome. And then the other person, of course, Peter Mayhew, had to go meet him. And surprisingly, the line was not that long. We only had to wait for 5 or 6 people, I think, when we went by. Walked right up, and he was pretty friendly too. And we always joke with Cecil about having the monkey paws. Peter Mayhew's hand dwarfed the monkey paws. I kid you not. Colossal.
And he had this
but I mean, the guy was he had big can Dr. Pepper with him. But what do you expect? The guy was Chewbacca. Chewbacca's huge. He's a Wookiee. But yeah, so he was pretty friendly as well. So it was nice. He charged for photos, which is understandable. He's somebody who's been in several major motion pictures. The Star Wars franchise is loved all around the world and is now part of Empire Disney. So awesome for me, because that's the second person I've gotten to meet from Star Wars films now. I met Dave Prowse at Monster Mania last year, so I met Darth Vader and Chewbacca. And Billy D. Williams, who's Lando Calrissian, is going to be at Monster Mania coming up this year, which is in a month. So we'll talk about more about that later. But one of the things I like to do when we go to conventions like this is go through the artist alley and meet some of the independent comic writers and artists who are trying to get their start in the business and throw a little support their way. So a few of the things that I was able to pick up going through the artist alley, I got Team Genesis here. It's done by Far Corner Studios. And the writer, Lincoln Farquharson, I hope I'm saying that right as well, was there. And you can see there's a signature on the cover of that. What first drew me to the booth is the artwork. I mean, you see the cover art there. And this is one of those books where it's not that, the cover's really pretty and you open the book and it's different inside. The art through the entire book is just like it is on the cover there. Really clean, really nice artwork. And the story is pretty cool so far. It's just one issue. But the blue guy and then the blonde girl on the cover start off as the main characters. It takes place in Baltimore, DC metro area. And they're summoned to this room where they're given a mission to go rescue this guy who's been captured by the government. And they show up, they get their plan together. They show up to try to rescue this guy. They scout everything. And when they do, there's other superpowered people there. The blue guy has ice powers. The girl can shoot energy blasts and can also fly. But they show up, and the guy here with the long hair and like big puffed out chest, he's super strong. The one in the blue costume there, his super speed, and then the other character showing up in the upper corner is actually the kid they're going to rescue. But they set up who the villains are, who the good guys are, and you learn a little bit about the characters, but not too much. It's just a first issue kind of setting it all up. But I'm really excited to see more of this. Hopefully they can put out another issue sometime soon. I don't know how long ago this came out, but definitely worth checking out. You can find them on Facebook, Far Corner Studios, Far Corner Comics, or Team Genesis for that. Next up, I've got Kantara, and this I picked up from a guy who originally went over to grab a Spider-Man print from, so I picked up that. And Kantara is it's a fantasy, like sword and sorcery type book. And starts off with the kid with the blue eyes here is captured, and they're interrogating him, trying to find out information. And he seems to have some kind of amnesia, doesn't know how he did what he did. They talk about how there was a time where dragons ruled the world, and they imparted their power into people and their wisdom to advance society. When the people finally are like, well, the dragons are too powerful, so the people united and got rid of the dragons. So they're trying to figure out how this kid has power. And then the general here with the one ear gets his ear, taken off by the kid. So it's still early. There's 4 issues of this, which leads into another series they have called First World, or The First World. So I'm looking forward to picking up the other 2 issues of this for the setup, and then seeing where First World goes from there. Guys are really friendly. They're no longer with Whirlwind, which is what's written on the cover here. They have their own thing. But if you go on Facebook, you can find them at The First World Comics, or Comic Book. So you can follow them and check out some of the other art that they have. The other one is actually somebody who's local to here. It's got David Crispino. And he worked at over at Collector's Corner. Not sure if I haven't seen him there in a while. But so we know him there. This one here is called Blood and Time, and it is a Western horror themed book. Got a chance to sit down and read this, and the idea is that it's back when the white men are conquering the land and driving the Native Americans back, and it's set up to be right before the Battle of Little Bighorn. Oh. And they're talking about the Wendigo and how the white men are possessed by the Wendigo, and they have this bloodlust, and they just want to kill, and they don't care about people. They're driven by this creature. So they mentioned some of big Native American people at the time, Sitting Bull, Crazy Horse. And so ultimately what it ends up doing is that they're resorting to creating their own Frankenstein type monster to battle the white man, to stop them from encroaching on their land. So at the end of the book, it kind of sets up the Frankenstein monster that they refer to as the Shambler. And the art style it's all black and white. It's a little bit, kind of creepy. Everyone's kind of got sunken in eyes and expressions. If I flip to the back, they kind of show you the Shambler in the top corner there. But this is done through Kickstarter originally. It's written by David Crispino, and the illustrator is John Warren. So I'm interested to see where they go with this. I like the idea of a horror Western theme. It's a little bit different from most comics. So the next one that I got also from David Crispino, it's a little short book, and it's called Smare. The cool thing about Smare, it's written by David Crispino, but it's starring our friend Victor, who works at Collector's Corner up in Bel Air. It's also the art is done by John DeCampos, who is one of the people from MagFest. I think he's the head of MagFest, actually. But he's also in a few local video game music bands as well. So you can see it's kind of like a creepy, cartoony kind of vibe, and it stars Victor. And the idea of it is that he's doing a infomercial for a product called Smare. And he goes and he kind of explains what Smare is through it. And I don't want to spoil this one. This is it's a real short book, but it's really neat, kind of creepy read. So if you have a chance to pick that one up, if you can find it in store, I think they carry it at Collector's Corner,
I saw it there.
So you can pick it up there. So that's the end of the books that the small print books that I picked up. The other cool thing, I mentioned the Super Art Fight people being there. So I got to pick up the Super Art Fight Greatest Live Art compilation in the known universe. And it's a bunch of their art from the different artists and stuff. They give them themes, things that have been submitted by the users that would normally be on the Wheel of Death. And it has like all the information about how Super Art Fight came to be, what Super Art Fight is, explains the Wheel of Death, and they do their themes from that, like cattle battle, where it's cows fighting each other.
Don't they have a picture of Ross with hair?
Yeah, Pissed Off Endangered Species, Pizza Party, and it's the artist's interpretation of those sort of things. They show some of the posters from Super Art Fight's past and talk about the different shows that they had during that time frame in that year. They have a few collaboration pieces that are done here, like Lucha High School, which is done by Jamie Angry Zen Master Noguchi and Kelsey Killer Wales. But you flip towards the back here, and they have portfolios, so they show art from the different artists that they have in it. The robotic polar bear and android guy are done by Michael Bracco. I know that one off the top of my head. Some yearbooks, so they have a couple other little events they have, some of their favorite moments they have. And the one big thing they always talk about is getting to open for P-Lander Z, which actually was the first time I saw Super Art Fight, was when they did a mini art fight before a P-Lander Z show. And that's what got me into them, and I found that to be really fascinating. So they talk about the first ever art fight a little bit. Now, the cool thing, the very back, they have profiles, so they show you who all the artists are, tell you a little bit about them, what their individual products are. And they like to point this one out to us. The picture here of Ross Nover, who's one of their hosts. Ross is the one who picked out the photos and put the book together. So they joke that this is he picked the oldest picture possible of him where he has the most hair. So if you go see Ross now, he doesn't have quite as much hair in the picture. And one of the and talking about that, one of the biggest themes of Super Art Fight is that Ross sucks. Many times you go to art fights and they break out in the chant of Ross sucks, Ross sucks. So the last page of the book is for autographs and sketches. So Dan Malahome, known as the Charm City Shinobi, drew me a picture of Ross sucking. And if you can zoom, I don't know if you can zoom in a little bit to actually see the art a little bit better. Just a little quick pencil sketch. I can lift it up. You can see there's "How do I mic?" and he's holding the microphone upside down, which I thought was pretty clever. So give you plenty of space to have other art fighters draw on there, which I plan on taking to the next Super Art Fight, which is coming up on September 20th at the Auto Bar in Baltimore.
That's right.
Which we plan on going to. I know Blue Bomber and I are definitely going to be there.
Definitely.
And maybe Cecil might come along too, possibly others. We'll find out. So the other two things I want to show off, I picked up a game called Cockfight. It's a card game done by Charm City Games. It's upside down. I keep forgetting it's from my perspective. My bad.
How could you?
Which Blue Bomber and I sat down and played a couple games of. We actually did a little playthrough video, which we'll be posting up a little bit later, so you can check that out and see us play that, see if it's something you're interested in. And they have another game coming out, which we talk about at the end of that video as well. So stay tuned. Check that one out when it posts. It's a lot of tongue-in-cheek humor. It's definitely adult-themed. We mentioned it throughout the other video, but we're talking about roosters. Not something else that you're all probably thinking about.
Shame on you.
So the other cool thing that I brought with me that I picked up when we were there is a quick head sketch of Zatanna that Adam Hughes did for me. He was doing $20 head sketches, which is pretty cheap to have a professional artist do a sketch for you. And it was amazing to watch the man draw. He can draw just really quickly. Mm-hmm. Like, this was done in like 5 minutes, and you can't see it from the camera there because it's really light. but he did a quick pencil draw and then did like an ink outline of it. And it's amazing to me to stand back and just watch somebody who's that skilled work.
He was just scribbling and
just
then
boom, 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 and then bam, there's the Tana.
That line moved really quick too.
That moved really quick too. We got lucky. We didn't have to be too far back. Actually, there was one guy who jumped in line behind us. He got paid for 2, and he had a Jekyll and Hyde.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, it was Jekyll and Hyde done, which turned out really well. So, anything you'd like to add? Anything you particularly enjoyed about the convention?
I did enjoy that it was that you could actually do everything in one day. Sort of, you can go see everything and make a lap without being too exhausted. And I actually ran into a lot of people I knew, which I didn't get to. I don't do a lot of conventions, so that was awesome.
So yeah, I guess I didn't. Speaking of running into people you know, we did get to run into a lot of old friends of the Ninja Legion. The crew from PLB Comics was there. So nice. James, Matt, Josh. I feel really bad. I always forget. Yeah, it's Josh, Matt, and Josh, and then Chelsea. Were there. We ran into Bob Garr. He was showing us some of the art for his upcoming remake of Until We Sleep with new artist. It looks really cool. He's also showing us some art from Blackjack, which is another upcoming project he has. So we're looking forward to that. He's going to be doing when it's ready, he's going to be doing an event around here. So we'll be able to pick that up and check it out and tell you all about that when we get a chance to go there for that. Ken Hunt was there. We've talked to Ken Hunt in the past. So he had an exclusive print for the show with the Joker on it, which is pretty neat. I think
there's anything else.
People. Well, I was gonna say the other thing. I was able to pick up a few things that I was missing from my collection. I found a Thor season 1 book that I was missing. I got that for $2 for a hardcover trade, which is awesome. Apparently, the guy had all of them.
Yeah.
He said he had an entire long box full of these things. And I also was able to get all of the Lantern Corps power rings, which is something I've been working on collecting. And of course, they're sitting in a bag on a chair over there. So I can't show them to you now, but there's going to be a picture of that. I'm going to replicate an old Green Lantern cover using those rings, and we'll put that picture up for everyone to see. So keep an eye out for that soon. So yeah, but yeah, you were able to see everything at the convention. We didn't check out any of the panels. They did have a few of those, and they do. There's an award ceremony that they do as well. So we didn't get to see everything the convention had to offer, but I was very happy with the convention this year. They did a really good job of opening it up, having it better lit, cutting the line wait times down. The staff was very well organized. They were very polite. They were really good about telling you where you needed to go, and they knew all their information. So all in all, it was a really enjoyable con experience. It's cool to see them extend out to 3 days so that other people have a chance to go. I couldn't go Friday because I had to work. But as they get better and better guests, and Baltimore Comic-Con is very good about getting comic industry guests, where San Diego has that Hollywood vibe to it. Baltimore Comic-Con's a pure comic convention. Yeah. You go there for the comics, for the artists, for the writers, for the people who make those books that, you know, the movies come from, and not just focus on the movies that came from all that original content. So I had a really good time.
I had an awesome time.
So definitely check it out. Next year when it rolls through, we'll be back. I know we will. We love Baltimore Comic-Con. It's right in our backyard. And me being the big comic book nerd that I am. So yeah, love the improvements. So better lighting, better space, quicker lines. So Baltimore Comic-Con was a huge success for me this year. 10 out of 10 for me. Great convention.
Well, I have nothing really to compare it to, but I guess it was pretty up there in scale. I don't know.
Well, you've been to other conventions. You've been to Otakon and stuff before. So, I mean, compared to Otakon, what do you think?
I might actually like it better than Otakon, just for the No.
Just because it's easy to get to the things that you want to get to.
And I
which
knew
is
where everything was, and I didn't have to go back and forth across the huge convention center all day.
Yeah, and that is the advantage to going to some of the smaller cons over the larger ones. Otacon's enjoyable, but for different reasons. So,
there are also less Disney princesses, which I think.
Yeah, but there were a lot of Deadpools. There was a lot of cosplayers there. We didn't mention that, but yeah, a lot of Deadpools. But there was also some really cool ones. There was a Bishop that looked really awesome. A friend of ours was Cable. Turned out really well. And
Schmidthouse cosplay.
Schmidthouse cosplay. We'll plug them. Yeah. Actually, might be helping me make a costume in the near future. Yeah. So be on lookout for that one. So yeah, thanks a lot for listening, checking out the review of Comic-Con. If you didn't get a chance to make it, try to go next year. If you did get a chance to make it, let us know what you thought about the convention. Tell us your feedback, some of your con experiences, who you got to meet, who you liked seeing, who you'd like to see in the future. I know there's a huge list of people that I want to see for the next Baltimore Comic-Con, artists and writers and such. So, again, thanks for watching. I'm Spider.
I'm Blue Bomber.
This is the Ninja Legion. Thank you.